Hey trainers, it's Professor Pokemon, aka Alakaham, here to bring you some more Pokemon video magic. And this past week has been kind of rough. I had a family emergency and I was very distracted throughout most of the week, and so my score really tanked in Go Battle League. I lost almost 400 points in Go Battle League. I was very distracted and having a rough time of it. But as of this week, my score has continued to climb, and especially because of this new REMIX Cup, I have been having a great time with the Great League REMIX, and I'm going to show you 3 teams that I've been using that have been really helpful. To give credit where credit is due, one of these teams is of my own invention, one is a modified version of a team from the YouTuber and Twitch streamer Zionic, and then one of the teams is borrowed from a YouTuber named Shrady, so you can go check out their channels if you want to see some more Pokemon Go video footage. So I'm starting with this team of Obstagoon versus Scrafty, and that stupid little fighter is actually at an advantage in this situation. My Obstagoon looks big and bad and scary, and they're both doing neutral damage to each other, or super effective damage to each other, but because Scrafty has access to Power Up Punch, it's the winner there. So I needed to switch into something. I swapped into Pelipper because Pelipper does super effective damage, and they let me land a Hurricane on that Drifblim there, so I'm not complaining. That was pretty fantastic. I went ahead and let the Pelipper go down so that I could try to farm up some energy on Obstagoon. That was not a good idea because the fast attack was not doing any damage to that Drifblim. That was a really bad idea, and I ended up just wasting all of my energy. But that was fine. I let the Obstagoon go so that I could start to farm up some energy on Ninetales. Got Alola Ninetales there, A-Tails as I like to call it. And this part gets to be a bit tricky because I need to land a Dazzling Gleam, so I've got to figure out when they're going to use their shields. I tried to throw a Weather Ball thinking they would block to kind of test and see what moves I used, and then, yes, landed the Dazzling Gleam. So now I can just block everything, block all the attacks coming through, and we can go for farm down with A-Tails. So the big question is, do I farm down before they get to a second or third Mud Bomb there? And I do, so that worked out really nicely. I was very pleased with how that worked. Haven't seen Whiscash too often in this particular meta, so that Catfish can go just get right out of here. Stay out of my pond, right? Okay, so here's another team. This was the one that was developed by Shrady, and that has been the most successful for me. They walked into a bad lead, swapped out into Muck, and I have Vigoroth ready to go. Vigoroth is one of the most annoying players to come up against, but I love using it because it has such a fast charging attack there. If you have Body Slam equipped, you're going to be able to do so much neutral damage because you're going to launch a million of them before the opponent is going to be able to retaliate against you, right? Okay, so I blocked from the Machamp on the Altaria because I do not want to get hit with Rock Slide, but otherwise we're doing pretty well. Altaria farms down Machamp pretty quickly. I figured I could just finish with Farm Down now and then save that charge move on Altaria for whatever they have in the back. And they went ahead and made a swap, so I just went ahead and threw that attack. Fortunately, it was a Blossom, and that little leafy hula Pokemon creature is not going to fare well against flying type attacks. Anything that's grass-based is not going to do great with flying. But I think when I switched out to Registeel, they realized their attacks weren't going to do anything to Registeel. Grass, Fairy, it's not going to work out great. Okay, again, I came into a favorable lead. I had Medicham versus Bastiodon. Now, I don't have a great answer to Medicham in this particular team, so I decided to go ahead and chip some damage and then swap into Ninetales. So the great thing for me in this particular matchup is I know they have a Bastiodon, and both of my Pokemon other than A-Tails can do super effective damage. So I'm going to go ahead and block here. I'm going to try and go for Farm Down. Didn't think I was quite going to make it, so I went ahead and launched that Weather Ball. They let it go. They're probably going to bring the Bastiodon back in, and of course A-Tails is just going to die, just immediately. Yeah, the Smackdown attack is really intense. So what I did was I lined up Poliwrath with Bastiodon, because both the fast move and the charge move were going to do super effective damage, right? So now I have Medicham lined up with the Scrafty. I can go ahead and shield this to make sure that I defeat the Scrafty. Because I don't need shields against Bastiodon. It's going to take 2-3 stone edges to actually feint out this Poliwrath, maybe even more. So I'm just going to farm all the way up to Dynamic Punch. And I've got 2 Dynamic Punches loaded here, and they didn't even bother with a block. They just get straight tanked by that Poliwrath's Dynamic Punch. Poliwrath is a really cool, kind of spicy player for this particular meta. I haven't seen very many people running Poliwrath, but wow, it has access to ice and to fighting moves, and both of those things are super meta in this particular cup, so I do strongly recommend Poliwrath. Okay, we picked up a pretty good lead here. I figured this would likely be Ice Punch from the Medicham, and it was, but that's okay because what I really wanted here was shield advantage. If I can keep shield advantage, then we're eventually going to be able to beat this Medicham because its fast attack isn't doing all that much damage. They've got to rely on that Ice Punch, right? But on the other hand, my flying type attacks from Altaria, this Cotton Wing Bird is going to straight destroy that fighter, right? You saw how much damage I just did, and so that was great. They went ahead and brought in Politoed, and I decided I don't want the Altaria to go down. I can probably force them to use their last shield with this Sky attack, and if not, I can farm them down significantly. I do get the shield, and I farm down like a third of their health, so Altaria was really with it here. So now's the time to bring in Vigoroth. I love Vigoroth for the Politoed because Politoed is so spammy, but so is Vigoroth. So you can really give those Politoads a taste of their own medicine, right? If you're sick of them, you can throw a Vigoroth at them, and you can be just as annoying with that particular game choice. Okay, so Shadow Victory Bell, I just did a bit of what I thought would be chip damage. It ended up being a lot of damage, and then brought in Registeel. There is nothing that Victory Bell is going to do to this Registeel that makes much of a difference. Grass types are at a complete loss against Registeel. Another really great choice for this particular meta. I'm going to use that team one more time because, again, it's been my winningest team so far. It's been working out really well for me, and we'll see what we've got. Altaria versus it's a Politoed. Okay, again, you've got the annoying little Muppet thing there. Sky Attack is going to do a lot of damage, so they either have to block or risk just getting farmed down. We do get a shield, and I decided to swap into Vigoroth because you know why. We talked about it just a moment ago. Also because sometimes Politoed has Blizzard, and I want to keep that way far away from my Altaria. So they swap into A-Tails. A-Tails is pretty common here. It's just going to do neutral damage against the Vigoroth, and Vigoroth charges pretty quick. So again, you can just spam them with Body Slam attacks, and as long as it's doing neutral damage, you're going to get quite a bit done there. So that's what I'm doing. They're trying to spam me with Weather Ball. I'm trying to spam them with Body Slam, but we had shield advantage, so that worked out great for us. I'm going to go ahead and let the Vigoroth go down because it showed me that they threw their energy, and just in case I shielded this, and it's a good thing I did. Turned out to be Blizzard. They swapped into Hypno, and Hypno's attacks are going to do virtually nothing to this Registeel unless they have Fire Punch, but I just found out they don't, because if they had it, they would have thrown it, and then they completely just, did the top left thing and exited out of that game, which is fine by me. So I was pretty pleased with how that set went. It can be pretty messy if you try and do a full set using multiple different teams, but I feel really confident about my Remix Cup teams. Like I said, I have been doing really well with it. I have gained back all 400 points that I lost last week when I was having a tough time and was being distracted. So these teams are really great, and I especially recommend Poliwrath and Reggie Steele. Those two really seem to take people off guard. Altaria is a little more popular right now, but Altaria is really great too. So please feel free to tell me about what teams you're using, how things are going for you and your Go Battle League Season 7 Remix Cup battles, and I will talk to you next time, trainers.